Here's the new Poco M4 Pro, among the most requested devices me to check out for you. 5G, 50 megapixel camera and surprisingly good performance on a budget. Let's inspect. Hey, really nice to meet you, welcome back. I'm Michael and what we do here is inspect fresh and cool tech, and that's the device I have received so many requests about that, you know, it's unbelievable, but obviously a lot of interest in this brand new Poco device. And Poco as a brand, well, that's one of the, well, Xiaomi spin-offs. They now operate as a separate company, but we know well about their relationship to the Mi brand. The thing is that they have 4 different classes of smartphones. We know the F series, F, I guess, supposed to be similar to Formula 1 and the top and the high-performing devices. Then we have the X series, which are focusing on elegance. We have the C series, which are very budget-oriented, and that's the Poco M4 Pro 5G, with the M series being always in the search of the best balance between price, performance, features, and of course build quality. And I can surely confirm about the build quality that is pretty decent, but I know that you're here because you want to find everything about this smartphone. And yes, I've placed it under my thorough, extensive testing in the past close to 3 weeks. So I've been doing a lot of photos, performance benchmarks, and all the feedback that I have collected for you right now. Now, the price is 200 to 230 euro or dollars, and we can say this smartphone is rather affordable, definitely not expensive. So really curious what actually Poco have packed inside. Let's get started. Poco M4 Pro arrives in a cool looking box, the company's signature color, and at least on my end, high expectations. So taking things out one by one, there are a few key points here. Starting with some papers, information to get things started, a nice protective case. Also, inside the box, a charging cable and a power brick. Just like a few years ago, having headphones was something to highlight because it was becoming rarity, I guess we can expect the same from chargers in the coming years. There are 3 color options for the Poco M4 Pro. You have the Poco Yellow, the signature color for the brand. You have the Power Black and also the Cool Blue, which I'm holding here in my hands. And as you can see, it's a gradient texture on the back, entirely plastic as you can hear. And I need to underline that I have nothing against plastic backs, because they can be very lightweight, construction is still very good, and also if you drop it on the ground it wouldn't crack the glass, because there is no glass, and that really is a good thing if you think about a budget-friendly device. On the sides, we can see speaker cuts both on the top and the bottom areas, and yeah, that's a stereo setup. Infrared blaster, apparently, and, hold your breath, 3.5mm headphone jack. So, on the outside, unless you get really close to the phone, you wouldn't notice much of a difference to more expensive devices. I strongly suggest using a case, anyways. Now, if we may take a quick tour around the most important specs, there's the 6.6-inch LCD screen covered by Gorilla Glass. It may have 4 or 6 GB RAM, 64 or 128 gigs storage. There also is a micro SD slot. The phone is powered by an octa-core CPU, part of MediaTek's Dimensity 810 5G. A dual camera setup led by the 50 megapixel main shooter, 5000 mAh battery supporting quick charging, and coming with Android 11 right out of the box. Based on the specs listed so far, it clearly is not going to challenge this year's top-end solutions, but is a very decent performer. So if you wonder how good it is, I would say it can outperform the Galaxy S9 from 2018. So yeah, it can be as good as a 2018 flagship in terms of performance. In terms of longevity, I would say if your priority is to do a lot of browsing, maybe social media, doing some photos, uploading it to Instagram, or doing some videos for TikTok, I would say that's going to do a pretty decent job if you primarily film outdoors. If we speak about the display, it's another good strength. It's an LCD, not the best end on the market, but you can see that it has very good performance, and at peak brightness, the black is black, which for LCD displays is very important. 90 Hz, Full HD even above this resolution, and also very good for gaming. I cannot say this is among the best displays you've ever seen, but definitely not bad. In daylight, it doesn't have the best performance due to the fact peak brightness is only 450 nits, 1/3 from the maximum achievement of Mi 11 Ultra, for instance. You can see for yourself the difference to a phone that costs around 7 times more. Oh, and if the display breaks, replacement won't cost that much. If you wonder about the camera setup, and I knew you were gonna ask about it, so yes, let's talk. This here is the main camera, and in fact you kind of think there are quite many modules on the backside. It's actually the main sensor and the ultra-wide image sensor, there's the LED, and the others are cosmetic things. So we only have a dual camera setup. The main image sensor is a 50 megapixel Samsung shooter, and it's rather with a small size, which is both a good and a bad thing. Good, because the sensor readouts require less power and post-processing is faster, so it's gonna drain less battery. Bad, because, well, as you can already see, daytime photos are pretty good, but low light performance will definitely suffer. From most photos that I've taken, those in daylight are rather sharp, not amazing dynamic range, meaning that if there are many bright and light and also dark areas in the image, the phone might not be able to reproduce them too well, but in some cases the HDR mode can help. The dedicated night mode is, as usual, on par with the expectations. Not amazing, but since it uses a well-known technique, taking a few shots and extracting the best out of them in order to provide a lot more details and colors to the final image, I would say it's okay. This technique is a great way of masking the imperfections of such a small image sensor and also take advantage of all the processing power inside the SoC. Xiaomi seem to have mastered extracting the most out of Samsung image sensors anyways. The ultra-wide camera is okay-ish. I can repeat pretty much the same as stated for the main sensor, with further worse shots at night because the sensor is even smaller. Sadly, there is no macro mode, and the best idea for you is to try a software zoom in combination with a tripod, because the camera has no optical image stabilization. Videos can be recorded with resolution of up to 1080p. If you use a gimbal, it's gonna look a lot better. There's electronic image stabilization too, which, well, you can see for yourself whether it is good enough or not. The selfie camera also is a runner-up, but it supports most of the important modes used in online conferences and instant messaging. It's a good idea to show you the front camera video performance, and surprisingly for this budget class, in here we've got electronic image stabilization, meaning that even if I'm walking, it's not going to be too much shaky. And I've recently been testing the OnePlus Nord 2, which costs almost twice the money you got to pay for the M4 Pro, and it doesn't really have any image stabilization. Interesting here to figure out how also the audio quality feels, so let me know what you think of the front camera performance. Comment down below. The battery life here can be described as almost phenomenal. I was really surprised by the battery endurance, and yeah, I had my expectations pretty high because I knew that this chipset is very power efficient. It's not as hungry as Snapdragon 888 and the other chipsets from this year, but it really blew my mind. You can see that the screen on time is phenomenal, and generally, to give you an easy-to-get comparison, it was giving me close to 2 times better battery endurance than Mi 11 Pro, which is remarkable. Now, while in terms of battery, it does really a great job, performance might not be that appealing. Well, definitely there, but nothing that can challenge the snappiness of more expensive mid-rangers or high-end solutions, like Snapdragon 700 or 800 series, for instance. Solid, you can play games, most run great, some can be played even in high graphics modes. The display, if enabled at 90 Hz, is really decent, and the speakers contribute to a nice experience. Stereo sound is always a good thing, although the speakers here could have been a tad better. Poco have embedded with this model the Xiaomi's adaptive refresh rate technology, fantastic for browsing, social media and any kind of viewing experience. Few words about the software. it is Android 11 with the typical for Xiaomi devices MIUI flavor. So it's not that close to stock Android, but you can count on some useful features that are not present with other Android phones. For instance, an excellent launcher, there is a themes engine which can give you different look and skin whenever you need such. This includes access to hundreds of nice wallpapers and also the ability to make the phone look like another operating system. Let's say if you like the Samsung style, here it is. If you want some Google Pixel-like icons, the operating system has it for you. Xiaomi promised for the M series at least one major Android update, meaning that you will for sure have Android 12 at some point, alongside with security patches from time to time. The past months haven't been particularly strong for Xiaomi in terms of frequent updates, but there has been at least consistency. There are some performance tweaks as well, and the popular gaming mode, which is going to ensure the CPU runs at maximum possible mode when it comes to a heavier load. I won't trick anyone here into saying that you can expect marvelous snappiness and responsiveness, not at all, but given the price point, the really decent system-on-chip development, and, in my opinion, the mind-blowing battery life, that's a fair trade-off. If you wonder about the viewing angles, so this is where the regular LCDs are not that great. But anyhow, before we summarize in the end what I think about the Poco M4 Pro 5G, maybe it's good to finally confess that there's a trend, and the trend is that the most budget-oriented brands of the big Chinese players on the market are slowly conquering this super budget segment, which was ruled in the past by no-name garage brands by the names of Doji, Umidigi, and similar. And that's kind of expected, because when it comes to smartphones, it's not just about the hardware. Everybody can do good hardware. Well, not everybody, but most companies do it. It's the combination between hardware and software, which is eventually the key of the huge success of iPhones. And if you ask me what I think about the Poco M4 Pro 5G, I would say, yeah, you pretty much get what you pay for, probably even more than that, and it's one of the best mid-range, lower-end mid-rangers of 2021, and clearly one of the best choices if you want to use 5G on a budget. And in order for this one to succeed, it has to be really good, and it has to outperform the Realme 8 5G series, and I believe Poco have already included all the ingredients in order to succeed. And now it's time you to let me know what you think. If you have this phone already, please share with me your feedback about how it performs and what you're happy with, what you're not so happy with. If you don't have the phone yet, let me know. Do you think of buying one, and what's the best feature you found in the Poco M4 Pro? And any questions or comments or remarks you have about this video are welcome to be shared down below. As usual, link to the product and most of the tech gear we have seen throughout this episode is linked in the video description. I'm Michael, been such a pleasure today. Spend your money wisely, take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!